Okay, I think that's about as good as it's going to get. Hello! Hello, I'm going to continue working on the Escher gang that I started working on a few days ago. Um, I finished the first model, and I'm pretty happy with how she turned out. And so now I'm going to work on another model. Let's see, is the focus going to work okay? Is it going to play nice? Looks like it's going to play nice. So this one is the Escher gang I'm going to work on today. I've got some highlights to do on the other one, but I'd rather do this right now. Work on this lady. I absolutely love the outfits that these women have, and just how they look, and the general aesthetic of the Escher gang, so I'm going to have a lot of fun painting this one as well. I think this one, though, is going to go with a browner skin tone. I went basically to like a swarthy Caucasian, I guess, if you could consider that. And I don't want to do that again. I think I'm going to mix them up a little bit. I'm having a lot of fun painting them so far, and it's been a lot of fun just trying to figure out how to kind of maximize the detail. And something else this little painting project has done is really taught me how much a good quality brush can improve your painting skills. Because I've gone back and forth between the Games Workshop brushes that I have, which are supposed to be of pretty decent quality, and the Winsor & Newton brush that I have, that's like a size 1. And the Winsor & Newton brush is just so clearly better that it really defeats the purpose of having the other ones, and I really should just go ahead and buy more Kolinsky Sable brushes of superior quality, because the ones that I have right now are they're not up to snuff for what Winsor & Newton can offer. So let's go ahead and get started, I suppose. But first, since I'm not worrying too much about fine, precise painting, what I'm going to do with this young lady, first move the camera down, and second, I think I'm going to go ahead and do her arm. So I'm going to mix some black and some purple to get a really dark shadow color for her arms, and then I'll move up to a higher colored brown to eventually get there. And let's hope that this ends up looking okay, because I was following a tutorial from, I want to say, Juan Hidalgo Miniatures. I could be wrong, because I forgot, but that one really helped me with the other skin tone, and it kind of gave me an approximation of the colors I should be using. This one I'm going to kind of do blind with colors that I hope will work together. And so I learned a lot from it, and it taught me a lot about shading and complementary colors and how they can help reinforce each other and develop contrast, especially for the eyes. But this one I'm just kind of working blind and hoping that it all goes okay. So I'm going to start with a fairly dark purple to work as the shade color, and then I'm going to go over it with a considerably lighter brown and see if that will allow it to have a good tinge underneath it to create a good heavy shadow. So we'll see how that goes. And hopefully very soon I'll have some more fun things to paint, because I just got paid for the commission that I did, and I need to get those things packaged up and set out, which is going to cost a little more than I expected, because I don't have the boxes I thought I had. But that's perfectly okay. That's not the seller's problem, that's my problem. I baked the cost of shipping into the cost of the commission, because I thought I was going to have the proper shipping materials, but I don't. So I'm going to go ahead and absorb those costs, and it's going to be a-okay. Now, I will say, something that does kind of irk me is that this phone is clearly having a hard time keeping the autofocus on. And unfortunately, because I'm painting such a detailed model, it's really showing up, you know what I mean? And it's having a hard time, so it's zooming in and zooming out. I hope I don't make anyone sick. But we'll see. Let's see how this goes. I'll have to rewatch the video later. Make sure that it doesn't, it's not too obtrusive. Okay. So, now that we've got, we've got to do her torso, which doesn't seem to have gotten caught at all by the Zenithal Prime. So,
First of all, I honestly don't know where her torso begins and her clothing ends. I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark, but this looks like I'm just hitting her abdominal muscles. No, there's a pretty clear... Is there a clear separation? I can't even tell. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there's a line right here where the rib cage kind of separates from the shirt. And I think it's supposed to be the same around here. Yeah, she's wearing kind of a crop top, half vest, I think. So that should be about where it goes. Yeah, that looks about right. This is going to be an interesting one because her torso is so twisted. It's going to be fun trying to figure out how to get a good paint color on there. So you can see she's a lot darker than the previous model. So yep, I'm going to go ahead and hit that a little more, make sure that I've got good, nice color detail going on. I think this is a bare chest, so I'm going to go ahead and hit that as well. And we'll see what this can do. I think, yeah, because you can see it wrapping around the other way, but that looks like it's part of a piece of clothing that's underneath. Like a necklace, maybe? I can't really tell. We're going to treat it like it's more skin. Maybe I'll look at it closer and realize it's not. No, I think that... I'm seeing collarbone, which leads me to believe it's skin, so it looks like she's wearing a scarf or a collar underneath. I guess, as I paint her, I'll realize it and go, oops. But that's okay. That first layer came on pretty good. So now I'm going to give this a test. I'm going to continue using the Citadel base brush. I'm going to continue using it despite the fact that it's clearly inferior to the Winsor & Newton in terms of brush size and whatnot. And we're going to see how well this fares. I'm not even going to add any, well, I have to sneeze, any black to this. I'm going to go right into this brown and see if the brown offers any real resistance when I color this. Because one thing I realized as I was doing this is that I tend to get really trigger happy with putting on new layers before they dry. So I'm going to try and do this as delicately as possible. Hey, AK Former. Great stuff. You need any pen? Can you give me your pen? So, you said, my friend, oh, I am so good at finding free STL files. I don't need any paid STL files. Also, my friend, can you give me your paid STL files? I can't find anything. Yeah, I don't understand people that are like that. At least without coming back and be like, hey, you know, I kept saying how good I was at doing thing. Well, it turns out I'm not good at doing thing. Can you please help me? Yeah, no, I'm not into that. I think that, it's sometimes you gotta pay. There are some really, really good content creators out there that are making really good proxies, and they deserve money. I've actually run into that. I actually need to go ahead. I finally got paid for a commission, so I need to go ahead and buy myself a couple of STLs that I want to paint. I found a really cool looking Lorgar that I want to paint just for the practice and for the fact that I've never painted Lorgar, and I probably never will otherwise. And a Black Templar file, which, to be honest, I might just buy High Marshal Helbrecht and paint him, because he's such a cool model. Hey, Mommy Dova. I was just curious if we have club tomorrow. I figured I'd ask before going in. I think we do. I have no idea how that's going to work, though, because I know Mr. Spiker set up... oh my gosh, what's it called? He set up a D&D game with a couple of students, but in terms of the rest of club, I'm not sure. You might want to email Mr. Kane. He might be able to answer that question. Well, actually, you know what? If you give me a hot minute, I can do that. So one moment. You have a cool Perturabo. That's super neat. Is it one of... I can't remember who makes them, but someone's been trying to go through and make all of the Primarchs, and they look pretty darn good. And I'm working my way on buying them. Right now I have Mortarion and Jagatai, but eventually I want to get the rest of them. You're not going to print it. I mean, I guess that's understandable. But yeah, my goal at some point is to just go ahead and have
all of the Primarchs in, just got as part of a Patreon reward. Okay, that might be something different. My little MTG brain is so confused about what we're talking about. The different Primarchs of 40k. He's talking about STL files. Oh, it didn't send. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, I sent in a text to our little group chat, and we'll see if anyone answers that. Because I know that there are some really cool content creators that do really good proxies of the different Primarchs, but you know, your mileage may vary. And I know there's some great demon Primarchs. I know, if I remember right, one demon Primarch, Perturabo, won like a Golden Demon award recently at the last Golden Demons. Something like that. So yeah, there's some really, really cool Patreons out there, and some really cool Patreon rewards of some of these guys. AKA Former, where did you get, whoops, it's all out of focus. Where did you get your Perturabo that you said you really liked? And I guess my next question is, would you be willing to put it in a Google Drive and letting me have it? Perturabo, he's not my favorite Primarch, but he's definitely a neat one. And I would definitely love to give him a paint. Okay, let me go ahead and hit all of these. Let's see, any responses? Okay, it was sent. No one is online right now, so it might be a minute before you get an answer, Mommy Dova. I'm blanking as to which person you are. You don't need to out yourself because this is, you know, public forum, so I'd rather you not. But hopefully one of them will see the message and they'll talk about it, because everyone kind of went home exhausted, you know, with it being the end of the year and all of that. We're all kind of tired. Okay, let's see. Now, if I recall right, the way that this is supposed to work is that after I kind of layer in all of the brown skin on top of the purple, is I should be able to get to a glaze consistency with the brown, and then just kind of spread it over the entire thing, which will encourage smoothness between the two very distinct layers. So I'm going to try and do that in a minute, which might work okay, because this thing holds water a little bit better than the Winsor & Newton brush. Final exam for me out. The only way I'd go tomorrow is if it was made by Loggy K, but it was a gift for Patreons of the Maker's Cult. Okay, so I know what you're talking about, and Loggy K is a really good Patreon creator. I mean, I'll put it this way, Mommy Dova, I'll err on the side of caution and say don't go, because even if you do go, unless you coordinate it with friends, the chances of everyone showing up for it are pretty slim to none. So if you stick around, I'll wait till they answer. But I'm going to go ahead and lean towards the not likely. I always get Loggy K mixed up with a few other creators, though, because there's like 3 or 4 really good ones that do a lot of great proxies. And I just kind of forget which ones have done what. You know what I mean? Okay, let's see if I can do this without completely flooding out all the blending I just did. That'll be my last club meeting, college time starting this fall. Oh man, yeah, so you've, I bet that's gonna feel really weird. But the good news is that means you're getting out of the high school system, and given how kind of crummy the high school system can be, you're probably gonna be much better off. I hope you enjoy the college experience. I know I did. It taught me a lot about myself. And it was definitely a nice on-ramp towards adulting. But let me check to see if anyone responded. Nope, nothing yet. If I don't hear from them soon, I would just go ahead and say, yeah, just assume club ain't happening. But if you're willing to stick around for a bit, we'll wait to see. I'm so glad to get out PA's teachers or the students are. How to put it right? Yeah. It is definitely an eclectic collection of people. And, you know, in a lot of ways, the diversity of the school is its strength, but also in a lot of ways,
it can be a huge distraction and a huge problem. But I really don't want to wax poetic about the experience at the high school, so I'm not going to. I also would recommend, especially because even though there's only like the two of you here, I would recommend not using any specific locations, because the last thing you want to do is dox yourself on the internet. Okay, so actually, because of the nature of this first layer, I want to go on pretty heavily and get pretty good coverage all around. Because for the most part, I don't want these deep shadows, except in the deepiest, shadowiest places. Okay. Because what that'll do is it'll just lead to these weird clown makeup contrasts that we don't really need to have on the model. Ah, fair enough. Fair enough. Good to know. And yeah, that definitely did a good job of covering up some of the seams a little bit on her. And she has incredibly masculine looking features right now, though I think that's just because of the paint job I'm doing. But yeah, just hang around for a little bit longer. If they don't say anything, I'll just say, yeah, no, we're not having club. I know that, like I said, I know that that Mr. Spiker went ahead and planned for a couple of the students to come in and play game with him, but I don't think that's not happening as part of official club. That's just like they wanted to do the D&Ds and they created characters and translated them over to a new system, and so now he's giving them a chance to play before the end of the school year. Speaking of that individual has had terrible luck. Every time he's wanted to play, he's had to not be able to play, and every time he's been able to play, that group hasn't been able to play. So it's the ideal issue with D&D, right? It's the same issue that everyone always have. Do you have a lens you can look through to see the minis better? Because I'm squinting hardcore over here to see the details. Unfortunately, no. I'm using my phone because an actual DSLR camera is very expensive, and the one I have doesn't have an HDMI port. So, unfortunately, I've got to deal with the lens and deal with how it can focus, which, as you can probably tell, is not super great. But I'm also painting a very small figure. You can see, compared to the size of my hands, how tiny this lady is. So a lot of the details aren't going to be super noticeable. But, you know, working with what I have. Because if I go too quickly, that ends up happening. Or go too close. So I've got to kind of let the camera do it. Give me a second, though. Let's see. Let me try something. Because the app I'm using, Camo Studio, has some of that functionality with the manual focus, but it's just not very good. Manual focus. Let's see. Zoom in. That's about the best I can do. And that's about where I am right now. I've hit her with a dark layer for the shadows, and then I've gone over the dark layer with a wash. And now I'm working on painting the rest of her. And as always, I forgot about the dang torso. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint that up, because I completely forgot to hit her torso. I hit it with the purple, and then got hyper focused on the arms. But yeah, that's the one problem with painting online, is unless you commit a few, you know, about $1,000 to a good camera setup, painting miniatures is a really hard sell. At least to try and catch the details that low. The other problem, I'll be honest with you, is that my lighting isn't the greatest. I'm using a desk lamp. It is really fun. You kind of feel awkward for a while doing it, because it's like, I don't want to mess it up, I don't want to mess it up. And it's like, yeah, fair, I understand, I was the same way, but to be honest, if you do, you just paint over it. Or you strip it and paint it again. But, one of the biggest problems is with the lighting that I'm having right now, and even there, the lighting wasn't great, so you kind of gotta work with it. But yeah, I've watched a couple of videos that
are supposed to help with skin tone, and so I'm trying to practice and learn skin tones a little better. Yeah, no, I think Mr. Spiker is probably... Actually, you know what? I'll text him directly. He's probably nose deep in Tears of the Kingdom, and Mr. Kane, I have no idea what he's up to. One moment. Doop, doop, doop. That is a lot of skin. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the fun of the model, is because they are, you know, supposed to be splatterpunk gals from, like, the 1980s. They're showing off a whole lot of skin to go along with that aesthetic. And I think it's super neat. It's something that I grew up watching a little bit. Not as much as most people, but definitely was part of my childhood. And I've always loved the idea of these, like, ultra-empowered women that are, you know, more scary than they are beautiful, because that's the general role that you would see women in that time period, is as the helpless damsel in distress, and, you know, not much of a combatant, not much of anything. They're soft and they're delicate and that kind of thing. And then you got these ladies who look like they'd bite your ear off as soon as you know, look at you. And I've always thought that was kind of cool. Okay, I probably ought to go ahead and get some highlight done. Yeah, I don't think anyone's paying attention to their Facebooks. Okay. A little bit of a highlight. I don't want to go too hard on the highlight. I'm actually going to switch brushes, because I know for a fact the brush I'm using is not precise enough for this. The Citadel one is definitely not going to be good enough for what I'm about to do. And let's hope that it ends up looking okay. It's one of those things. I'm still not entirely sure what I'm doing, since I am kind of, not blindly, but very much following a an instructional how-to video. But it's very subtle building up of brighter and brighter colors in a way that I'm not fully comfortable with yet, you know? It ends up looking fantastic when it's done, because if you have the patience and the deftness of the hand, I prefer people not biting my ear off. Yeah, it's definitely a bad thing to have happen to you. You know, no one wants to be Holyfield to Mike Tyson's Mike Tyson, but I just think the idea of dangerous ladies to be cool, because it's the way it's done is not something that was shown off very often in popular media until a lot more recently. And to me, the 1980s splatterpunk look was definitely one of the first to do it that way. Because it was either you were beautiful or you were, you know, dangerous. And so the fact that it kind of did both was really neat to me. Anyway. Emulating skin reflections is difficult, and it requires a very precise brush. And unfortunately for me, I'm starting to realize that under this light, I don't have quite enough visibility. And so that's something else I'm going to have to do, is eventually I'm going to have to buy some new lights. Okay, let's see. Nothing yet, which is fine. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say don't worry about showing up tomorrow. Enjoy your summer break, because I don't think that club is happening. It just seems like, especially with the fact that we are on half days and whatnot, that it would be kind of weird to have club, because normally we finish club the week before final exams, but this year kind of got away from us. Okay, so again, all I'm doing is very, very gradually building up the brightness on her skin, because I don't want her to look like a cartoon character, even though her proportions kind of demand that. I'm just trying to have a very subtle glow from the darker brown that I've got on her to
I'll just head down to Blade instead. That's also fair. Blade Gaming is a great place to go play Magic: The Gutherings. And I mean, they do have F&M right, not right after, but kind of right after. So you're not, losing too much time. I actually, the Discord for the other store, is going off a little bit because they're losing their gaming table for a little while at Mishap because of like remodeling that's happening down there, and so they're trying to find another place to play. And Blade is looking like a potential option, but everyone's mentioning how packed Blade is, and how they probably wouldn't look kindly on 2 people taking up an entire 6-foot table. You know what I mean? So I think the Warhams is just gonna have to go off to the sideline for a little while those tables get remodeled. No, there's a store, a local store where we are, called Blade, and it's BLADE. It's an acronym, Blade Gaming, and it stands for Big Lick Comics, Dreams and Entertainment or something. But they do tabletop gaming, they do card games, they do board games, and they opened kind of as a response to the head honcho in town, Star City Games, just kind of being oppressive and being a little bit not great to people who weren't buying into their thing. So a couple of people decided to invest in a local, like, abandoned former waterbed store, I believe, and they remodeled it and turned it into a gaming center, which has since become very popular because Star City Games has a very corporate look about it, and for a while it was very heavily targeted towards, like, tournament grinders for Magic: The Gathering, and so people who were just trying to play the game to have fun with it were struggling to find a place to do that, and Blade definitely has a lot more of a comfortable, like, nerd basement look going about it. And they've got a very limited staff who are all very friendly and all very good. It's just overall a much warmer reception, and so it's become a very popular alternative to Star City Games in the area. And I don't want to pick on Star City Games. I think that they've got a business model I don't like too much, but they've also done a pretty decent job at establishing themselves. If you don't know, Star City Games purports to be the largest Magic: The Gathering store in the world by square footage, I think, because they have a decent, or they used to be, I don't know if they still are, they had a decently sized play area that was just rows and rows of, like, cafeteria tables, and then the back was just a giant warehouse full of their stock, because they mainly did things with online ordering. I've been thinking about asking if Blade has open spots for a job. Would be an awesome place to work. I don't see why not. I mean, if they're hiring and you have the availability, why not? Good work experience, chill place. Chances of anything truly bad happening there are slim to none. No, knock on wood. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's a fairly popular place for people to ask, "Hey, you hiring?" Just because of the the content, what they do, what they sell, that kind of thing. So best of luck if you do. I know that I don't know if he still works at the high school, but one of the employees was a former math teacher, I believe, or is a math teacher. I always forget because I don't see him very often. But he also works at Blade. I wonder if the skate shop is still open. There used to be a skate shop off the back of Blade because that was the owner's son's business that he was trying to get started. And my wife actually bought a skateboard from there that unfortunately she doesn't use very often anymore, but I think that's just because we don't really have a flat place for her to practice. Yeah, bluish hair. You're right. Nice enough. I've only talked with him a few times, one of which is when I noticed that he had the same Ammonite backpack I have, and I haven't seen that thing, and seeing someone in the school walking around with that was definitely a whole thing. Because I'm from the generation of, like, nerds weren't out and open about their nerddom. So seeing nerds just be out and open about their nerddom is kind of refreshing. I love it. Okay, I think that'll do it. And I actually think I probably ought to go back over with a wash, because the highlights on the left arm are definitely a lot more obvious than the highlights on the right arm, and that's not okay. They should be smooth and subtle, not whatever the heck I just did. Okay, so we're gonna go over all that with a blue wash. Try and knock that back down. And actually, I didn't go over this with a blue or with a brown wash, not a blue wash. I was reading bluish hair while I was doing the wash. Yeah, like the left arm looks pretty good. I'm happy with the right arm. I think it looks pretty good. I'm surprised you could talk and paint at the same time. I'd be afraid to breathe while painting. I have been doing this almost non-stop now for like 3 years. And especially I've been okay. Yeah, we're not having club. Just got an answer from both of them. And so I've kind of learned to do both. And I've been streaming now since, golly, October. So I've gotten kind of used to rambling incoherently at the microphone while doing this. And generally when I'm looking over to read, I've kind of stopped what I'm doing so I can specifically concentrate on figuring out what's being said. My biggest problem right now is that I always forget about the camera. And so when I'm trying to do things, I notice that the camera is way off and it's horribly out of focus, which of course never looks good for the viewer, especially when the camera starts pulsing to try and figure out where the focus is. And for me, that's a one-way ticket to me vomiting because of the motion sickness that I can get. But I don't know how that looks for other people, and I'm sorry if it bothers them. Unfortunately, I also can't put this on fixed focus because I'm constantly manipulating the model, right? And so putting it on a fixed focus means that they're going to flow in and out of focus instead of having a fairly consistent viewfinder that is attempting to find the focus on the model. So I've been trying to get better more recently about actively looking at the camera every few seconds to make sure that everything I'm doing is still in focus. But yeah, when I first started doing this, I could not talk and paint at the same time. You would have been asking me basically to like drive while cooking or something. Not possible. But the combination of the pandemic and a very, very understanding wife has led to me pouring a lot of time and effort into this skill. Because like even a couple months ago, the stuff I'm doing right now, I would never even think about doing. But because I've been practicing it and been working on it, I can do a lot more cool things than I used to be able to do. And so bully for me. Okay, I don't think that part's going to need much of a highlight because it's going to be covered. But I'm going to give it a little baby one just because. I don't want it to be completely lost in the shadow, as it would probably be if I left it alone. I have a problem with painting while painting, fair enough. But I mean, I'm pretty sure, but don't hit me at the end of the freshman year. It only recently got lifted as a global pandemic just at the end of my senior year. Yeah, I know, right? That's kind of how it's been, and it's been pretty awful. And the worst part about it is, like, we're technically not done with it. It's just that it's no longer become a selling point to report on. So we don't report on it anymore, but there's still thousands of people dying from this thing. I think the biggest issue, or the biggest difference, is that enough people are vaccinated, and enough people have the immunity, that, and enough people are kind of done with it, that they're no longer flooding hospitals and taking up beds and staff time that would be better suited to people who are truly ill. That's my understanding, at least. Gonna go ahead and continue painting those abdominals. There we go. And there, now you can see she still keeps, like, evening, Red, how's it going? She still definitely keeps her darker skin tone, but I'm able to get some highlights out of her that keep her from being one-dimensional. And that's kind of what I'm looking for with this model, is to attempt to give her some nice highlights that allow the person to see that this is a brown woman, but this is a brown woman with some depth to her skin. And hopefully that will all play out okay. But yeah. And actually, just for funsies, since I don't think anyone in here has seen the completed model, I didn't finish it yet, but it's definitely closer to done than not done. And I'm really impressed with how a lot of the layering, how a lot of the lighting ended up working out on this lady. The neon green was definitely a great idea for like the hair and the glove. I gave her plasma pistol a little bit of a glow. I also studded her, or gave her studs and spikes a little bit of just non-metallic metal silver, which I thought did a good job of making those pop. I kind of want to go back and redo the leggings because I think they don't look good, but I'm really darn happy with how the skin turned out on this one. And the hair, actually. Finish up my Warhammer Among Us stuff? Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, not to, you know, bring this to a screeching halt or anything, I have pictures I can show you. And honestly, it's not even just pictures. Well, actually, I think I am just going to show you the pictures. I went ahead and submitted them to a community day from an individual or another YouTuber or Twitch streamer that I follow, but I'm not going to go through that. What I'm going to do instead is that picture will work. Wait, will that picture work? Is that picture? Wait, no, I got a community day. There we go. Photos. There we go. There we go. And let's bring this back over here. How is she supposed to kill anything with hair in the way? Looks cool. I don't know. It's 1980s splatterpunk. It should be fine. So the Warhammer Among Us stuff. There's the call that I was working on. There is the... I don't need... Okay. There is the Einherjar Champion. So I did the call. That was where I first started really emphasizing volumetric lighting and trying to get the blending down right. And guys in anime fight with blindfolds all the time. They're fine. Yeah, she'll just sense their ki or their heresy or something. But tried to work really hard on volumetric lighting with this guy, make it look as metallic as possible without using metallic metals. I think I did okay. Could definitely improve on it. This is the Einherjar Champion, who I did in the form of like the what is it, straight ally flag. So he's got the pride flag colors on the logo, and then he's got black for his main armor, which is then shined up. And the symbols didn't turn out as wide as I wanted them to, but they're supposed to be white. You got the power hammer that looks like it's glowing up and ready to hit something. And then I've got all of the Among Us together. So these are all of the Among Us. I finished up the Chthonian Berserks very quickly because I just didn't feel like working on them too hard. But this is supposed to be, you can see them all in the back. And I put a couple up front so you can see, like, the red guy has, his hands are attached to the gun, but there are no arms attaching those. And you can kind of see in the back behind him one of the imposters who's using, I think, I want to say Chaos-possessed arms. Have you seen on YouTube someone bash Chaos Tau? Yeah, I did. I haven't watched the video yet, but it's been showing up in my suggested, so I'll have to give it a recommended, so I'll have to give it a view. And I cut open the view visor on the blue one on the left, and then I very carefully carved out a beholder head, a beholder eye, so that it would fit in there. And on the other side, I have another model in the yellow, back behind the gunner. And again, I used Chaos Possessed bits, and then I took a beholder's lower jaw, cut it in half, and then carved that down so it would fit inside of the helmet. So yeah, this is my Chaos, or not my Chaos, my Among Us Votan. I've got the bikes that I'm still working on, but I'm debating whether I want to just use speed paints on them, or whether I want to actually go ahead and give them a paint job, because they're not a set of models that I plan on
you know, entering into a modeling competition or anything. And I'm about halfway done with them. I did the base already, really happy with that. Started painting it up, and then I realized, why am I spending so much time on these? I don't really want to spend this much time on them. But yeah, since they have actual human heads, well, warp heads, I figured they get to keep their arms, right? This one I think is actually, I used speed paints for the trench coat on him, and I think it turned out really good, so I'm probably going to gives you Dead Space vibes. Yeah, that was kind of the idea. I wanted them to look like a more an HD version of the imposters. Hey Snow Twig, how's it going? And like these guys, the Votan on the bike, you can see he doesn't have the hands because he's an Amogus, or the arms, but he's got the hands. And I used speed paint for his coat, and it turned out pretty good. But the one on the gunner in the back, he's definitely got a head, so he's got his arms, since he's not an Amogus, he's just a regular Votan. And I didn't use a speed paint for that brown, I just watered down an acrylic brown really hard and did that. The painting is going okay. I'm working on some like super details on the Escher gang units that I have, but a student of mine is actually in chat right now. He was asking a question about something, and while he was waiting, he wanted to know how the Amogus turned out. And so I'm still working on the bikes. And my general idea became, if they have a face, then they're not Amogus, they're actual Votan. If they don't have a face, then they're Amogus. But same thing with him. I did the speed paint on the frills, the trim, and I did it on the jacket, and it turned out pretty good, even if the jacket doesn't match the hood. It's all good. But yeah, I don't know if you saw Snow Twig, but yesterday, Doig and Swift got to see my other Votan guys, and they seemed to really like them, which was kind of cool. But right now, like I said, I'm working on doing some Escher gang. I'm trying to get them to look real nice. I'm almost done with this model. I've got a little bit more highlighting I want to do, like on the clothes, and probably some more metallic bits. But beyond that, she's pretty close to done. Like, I need to get her calf back here, which doesn't have any highlighting on it whatsoever. But she's really close to done, and I want to do the base too. And I'm actually pretty excited with how it turned out, because I went really hard on trying to get the flesh done properly, and I've been taking the lessons I learned from doing the flesh to doing the rest of the model. So hopefully it'll all end up looking real good. I'm right now in a race against myself, because I promised myself I wasn't going to buy any new units until I finish the stuff I already have, my painting queue, and I've got a lot in my painting queue, so I'm trying to get it done. And I might have to break that rule, because I've at least started some things, a lot of things, so maybe it wouldn't be so bad for me to go ahead and start my orc army. Especially since I've gotten paid for another commission that I did, and that money's not burning a hole in my pocket, but it's definitely burning a hole in my pocket. So yeah, I want to get me some orcs, and I want to paint me some stupid green boys. And actually, I don't know if I ever showed it on the stream, but I painted an orc commando kill team before I started streaming. And I made them blood axes because I just like the idea of semi-intelligent orcs they're just smart enough to not swallow their own tongue, you know? And my goal for them, since it was a small commando kill team, was that they understood that the Yumis used camouflage, right? That the Yumis had these colorful patterns on their armor that made them harder to shoot. And so they decided they were going to copy that. But what they didn't understand was that the patterns had to match the background or the environment that they were in. So they raided like a Yumi hive city, and they found a bunch of ugly sweaters and ugly track pants and camo pants. So all of the commandos are wearing these absolutely hideous, garish, like not matching camouflage pants and shirts that I could find. And actually, Mr. Spiker Soft Servo
suggested I do one in the color pattern of his family tartan, because he comes from Irish or Scottish ancestry. I don't ever want to mix that up again, or else I'm going to punch me in the head. And so I tried to do a plaid on one of them, and it was very difficult. But I did that apparently just a little over a year ago, and I've definitely improved a lot since then. But they hold a soft spot in my heart, and I don't want to necessarily mimic that when I go into doing the rest of my orcs. But I want to paint more orcs. Their buildings look too cool. Their guns look too cool. Their vehicles are just way too good. I need to get me some orcs because I have a fever, and the only prescription is more crumpin'. So that's going to be my next big purchase, is getting myself some orcs. And I've also got another commission down the pipeline, so I'm probably going to have enough, I'm going to have enough money to get the Leviathan box too, and hopefully the pre-orders won't destroy the website and make it impossible to actually get them. That's a really good spot to hold the camera. Fantastic. Okay. Time to do her abdominals and her chest, her lower chest a little bit. This one I probably should have put together before I posed the dang thing. Or I probably should have painted before I put it all together, because she is definitely covering up a lot of her torso. So how are things going with you, Snowtwig? I've seen that you've been online a couple times, but every time you're online, I'm either usually preoccupied with something else or in a position where I can't really watch you. How have your streams been going? Light towards the center mass. There we go. Light towards center mass. Light to there we go. Okay. I think that's about good. You know what I keep forgetting to do that I probably should do? Her face. Okay. Wish me luck, guys. Faces are difficult, and I'm not good at them. Actually, what time is it? 5:20? I've got plenty of time. Okay, so here's where life gets difficult. And actually, what I'm going to do before I do the face is, I've got a soft light on them. I'm going to take the soft light filter off, and maybe the harsh light will help a little bit. Okay. Oh, she's even got a nose ring that I'm going to have to do. That's both cool that they managed to put that tiny little detail on this model, but also frustrating because they put that tiny little detail on this model, and I've got to figure out a way to paint it. Okay. Especially with how the light is shading everything now. Let's see what I can do here. Yeah, I gotta say, and I might have mentioned this before, but the Winsor & Newton brush has helped a lot. I really think that having a really good fine brush definitely helps with getting the fine details in without them looking splotchy. Because I would never be able to do some of these things with a brush that wasn't able to hold as fine a tip. So not to pat myself on the back too much, but kudos for me for finally getting one of these. And I don't remember who said it a couple weeks ago, but someone told me to just go ahead and use the dang thing. Because I'd mentioned I had it, but I was afraid to use it. It's been an incredible, incredible tool. And I couldn't be happier that I was finally needled into doing it. Okay. Let's see what I can do here. Same. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of that. A little bit on her face. A little bit down here. A little bit on the jawline. This is a very difficult part to paint, and I have no idea why I didn't do this before I attached the head to the body. Special pro tip: do the head separate. If you're going for the level of detail that I'm attempting, don't be dumb like me and put it on the head or on the torso. You're making life infinitely more difficult on yourself. paint heads separately. Put them on some poster tack, put them on a stick, paint the heads on a stick. It'll save you a lot of time and grief. It does look really darn good, though. Good day, I bring the blessings of Nurgle. Thank you, Papa Nurgle. I appreciate it. At some point, I'm going to get back to refining my Death Guard army and making them look even better. But right now, I'm painting up some Escher gang. That is one thing that I've been meaning to buy for a long time that I still haven't. I need to get myself some Death Shroud Terminators again. I sold mine because I didn't paint them, and I really didn't want to strip and paint them. I want to either start a Delacquay or is it Delac or Delacquay or Ash Waste gang? That's really cool. I don't actually play Necromunda. My whole thing was that I really, really liked the models. So I bought those just to paint them, and I'm really happy with my choice. But I want them to look good, so I started looking up some painting tutorials on how to do like really good detailed skin. And now I'm just kind of trying to ape those tutorials to the best of my ability. And so that's what's happening here. Is you're getting to watch me kind of fumble around and try and make it look good. Though I will say, it definitely doesn't look bad. It's a little rough in some areas and a little unrefined, but could be doing much worse, and I'm kind of happy with it. Okay, unfortunately, I think I might have gone just a little too bright color right here, so I'm going to go ahead and knock that back down, because that highlight is showing up way too much. I don't want that. So let's go ahead and just bring that back down a little bit with what's essentially a wash. That's gonna look better. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anyone to play Necromunda with. That's kind of the other problem. I'd love to get started, but I don't really have the time nor the ability to meet with people. Yeah, I know, it looks so cool, and everything I keep hearing about Necromunda just makes it sound better, you know what I mean? The fact that it's a lot more granular with how you can choose to fight than 40k, the intense customizability of it. There's so much going on in Necromunda that makes me want to learn it, except for the fact that I don't have the time to learn it. And part of what makes it so neat to me is just how claustrophobic the battle maps are. That's got to be one of my favorite things. I keep seeing at my game shop, they have, you want to start Ash Race for the Flea Riders. Those things are amazing. The Flea Riders are one of the coolest things about Ash Waste, bar none. And I think it's heckin' neato. My game shop, though, it has like the full Hab set. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like a $200 or $300 terrain set specifically for Necromunda. And I really want it, but I don't want to spend $300 on terrain. And I bought a 3D printer for specifically this reason, but I've been too reticent to try, or too hesitant to try and print out $300 worth of terrain. So at some point I'll figure it out, but today is definitely not that day. But yeah, I love the personality behind Necromunda. It feels like there's just so much going on. And, you know, the campaigns are neat because your units grow with you and they can have different loadouts and all the greatness. So how does... I understand that Ash Wastes is almost like a different game because it involves... They added vehicles and transports to it. But beyond that, I have no idea how it's different. Or is that like the big crux of it? Is that vehicles are now a thing and transports are now a thing? And if I remember right, they also, at least with the starter box they did for Ash Wastes, they made it so that there was much more open space than compared to Necromunda, which I think they have in like cramped hallways and the like, and then like cramped markets. So you and I are both kind of approaching it from different angles of interest. speaking of approaching it from different angles of interest, this woman is wearing two different styles of chaps, and I can't tell if they're both, like, if they're actually the same one, or if there's a definite issue with, like, one legging going over the other one. There's some weirdness going on with this model. And it's cool, I like it, but it's going to make painting it kind of a conundrum. Oh no, they're leggy. Paint leggy. There we go. Paint all the leggy. But yeah, I kept seeing the flea riders at the local game store, and it's very alluring. Games Workshop, for all of their flaws, do a great job with their new models, and I can't fault them for that. I do get very tickled by some of the back and forth that happens online where people mock Games Workshop's models as not being good. It's like, I'm sorry, but no, they've got professional sculptors doing what they're doing. They're pretty darn good. It's a game where there is games where it can be more open for them. Yeah. That's like I said, I think that's what Ash Wastes is supposed to do, right? Like, very specifically what that was designed for. Hopefully it ends up being a rip-roaring time. Hopefully you find someone to play with. That's going to be really neat, if and when you can get that to happen. But right now, between me and my friends, we're kind of excitedly awaiting 10th edition, because we've been playing one-page rules to try and make the game far less complex than it has been. And one-page rules has been a nice panacea, but we kind of miss playing the actual 40k. You know, having the appropriate lore behind the armies, as opposed to armies that are approximate, like the Diet Coke versions of them, you know? So we're really hoping 10th edition manages to solve that problem. Okay, so now we've got dark brown on the pants. Me and my friend want to do it because normal 40k is getting a little boring. That's fair, man. You know, playing one game too often can definitely start to be a drag. So doing something like Necromunda or Blood Bowl or Age of Sigmar, or even, from what I understand, Kill Team is pretty good too, but Kill Team's definitely not my thing. I've tried it, and original Kill Team I liked a lot, even though it was really janky and broken. And new Kill Team, I just feel like I'm having to learn a whole new game to play with the models I'm playing with. So I can definitely get not really vibing with 40k if you're tired of playing that game with those models. Okay. Yeah, I think I made the knee pads purple on the last lady, so these probably orange. We're gonna make her knee pads orange once I finish painting everything else on this lovely lady, because she's gonna have like bright yellow chaps. That's my decision there, is bright yellow chaps. Because I want every one of these to look like they're radioactive. That's kind of my idea. I gotta say, one of the most awkward things about this for me is like having to paint the butt. That's so strange. I mean, it's not really strange. What is strange? So, probably a yellow tank top. Maybe bright orange breastplate if I have to. I'll figure it out. But right now, I'm just kind of waiting for the brown paint to dry. That looks dry enough. Okay, let's go with this gold and see if it'll actually lay on it okay, because that's always the problem with a new color, is will it lay on the old color effectively? And right now the answer seems to be two thin coats. This is very clearly fighting the fact that it's being put on a dark color, which is fair. I expected that from a yellow. The pigmentation on yellow is definitely a whole thing. Painting the bare rotten butt of Nurgle demons. Yep, that's fun. I enjoy that. With the Nurgle demons, I really enjoy just leaning into the gross. I want my Nurgle stuff, I want my Death Guard to be so gross looking that, like, other players don't want to touch them. And in some ways, I've been fairly successful. In other ways, it's been kind of a mess, and I have not been successful. But that's okay. If with a bunch of tweaks, I'm able to get them to the point where other people look at them and go, like, I'm not touching that. And I can be like, good, don't touch my models. Papa Nurgle has a preference, and his preference is me. Like, I did a Plague Burst crawler that honestly looks like someone with a bloody nose sneezed on it. And I'm pretty happy with that. Not necessarily technical, like the technically best looking model I've ever painted, but it gets across the vision of a heavily diseased, slime-ridden tank, and that's exactly what I wanted. What I eventually want to do is buy a great unclean one, and then not necessarily, probably possibly make him into a great clean one, but more so, put him in a giant diaper. And then I want him to have like a huge blowout in the back, because I know that will make a lot of people upset. But in a way that's lore accurate, and that makes me laugh. I don't know if you have kids or know people who have kids, and so I don't know if you know what a blowout is, but they're hilarious. And that's probably just because I haven't had to actually clean one up yet. But just the idea that it has that name is very funny to me. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, I don't know why this light is flickering, but it's definitely messing with my concentration. Admittedly, these are cheap studio lights from a company when we were trying to get affordable lighting for our puppet shows. Hey, AK Farmer, welcome back. I don't even know what that is. French. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, she's getting some bright highlighted, super bright yellow chaps. I want each of these women to look like a fashion disaster. That's the plan here. Yeah, I honestly can't make out what that emote's supposed to be. Part of it's because I don't have my glasses on, but part of it's also just because it's a very busy picture. Oh, there it is. Gotcha. Those are both very silly. Yes, it is pure chaos. I didn't realize I could click on them and make them bigger to preview them. But those are both very silly, and I appreciate them. Okay. I think what's going to have to happen here is once I get the yellow on, I'm just going to have to start adding pale sand to this yellow as I use it for a highlight. And that will do a good enough job of creating a nice looking highlight for these ridiculous yellow chaps. Because the skin is done, the skin looks good, which I'm kind of surprised I got done in the time I did, but I probably should actually work on it more. But now I'm working on pants. Something else that's kind of tickled me tremendously is that I've recently gotten it. I haven't played a lot of video games recently because they've just kind of lost my interest, but I am so stuck on Cult of the Lamb. You should paint more. You should paint as much as you feel like you want to paint. But I watched Drawfee's charity stream of Cult of the Lamb. My buddy and I are going to have a birthday, so I'm going to give him about 450 points of Grimdark Future Firefight, and I need to paint them. Oh, that sounds pretty important. Yeah, you should definitely get on that. Unless your friend really wants to paint or play a Sea of Grey, then you probably want to get on that. I don't know what you're up to now, but now wouldn't be a bad time. I mean, you're already here. You know what I mean? Why not go for it? That's what kind of motivated me to paint some of the D&D stuff I was painting a little while ago. It's like, someone's paying me to do this. I probably ought to get it done before I do anything else. And so I've been trying my best to prioritize, you know, commissions and the like before I move on. And what I'm kind of hoping, especially with these models, is that by working on them, I can refine some of my blending techniques. It's close to midnight and I need to cure my prints. Fair enough. Fair enough. I forget that you guys aren't always in the United States. Because for me, it's like 5:30. I'll hit this a little more thoroughly later when it dries. You're doing that with the help of the sun? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. One of the first things I bought, well actually it wasn't one of the first things I bought it alongside my printer, was a wash and cure machine. And that has been one of the best printer related investments I've had. That wasn't the printer itself. Speaking of, now that I got paid, I should go ahead and buy myself some more resin. And probably agitate the resin that I've had in the vat for like a month now. It's been a little while since I've touched either of those things. Okay. And another note, guys, just as a reminder, because of how much difficulty I'm having right now, don't paint yellow onto dark colors, because you end up having to do like 8 million layers before it looks good, and even then it doesn't look good. So unless you're one of those special people who get like the super special paints from one of the really premium guys, you're probably better off just going over whatever dark color you have with like an off-white to really offset how dark it is. And normally I do that, but today I was like, I wonder what'll happen when I paint yellow on dark gray. Your washing machine is a jar in my hand. Fair enough. No, I was pretty sure I didn't want to have to deal with all of that rigmarole, so I bought it as part of the bundle for my first 3D printer. And when I bought my second 3D printer, I was like, the first wash machine I have is not going to fit the dang build plate, so I need to get the other one. So I bought the other wash and cure machine as part of the entire project, and it's just so convenient and so nice. And, you know, I'm in a basement that doesn't get a whole lot of light, and I don't really have a place that I want to set up these minis. So, having that stuff is really helpful. I don't even own yellow paint to Imperial Fist. Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I mean, the stink of failure can only go so far, right? If it's not in your house, then you don't have to worry about it. Okay. Now, I guess the good news is I've done enough of this that the yellow paint doesn't look quite so terrible. I think I told you, I doubled down. I started painting my Tau, which I were painting white. I started painting them yellow because I wanted to have like a Rogel Dorn Imperial Fist themed army for every, or color scheme for every army that I had. And then I realized that was stupid, and so I stopped doing it. But yeah, I have Squad of Sisters of Battle that are yellow. I had a Tau army that was like orangey yellow, but they were basically the Imperial Fist yellow. They were the Averland Sunset yellow. And I thankfully, mercifully stopped there. I was like, no, my Death Guard need to be Death Guard. I can't paint them yellow too. So the Death Guard are all the basic Death Guard scheme of that, like, dirty green and, you know, rusted metal look. And I'm pretty happy with how that looks. Right now, she's giving off really strong, like, Bruce Lee vibes because of the jumpsuit that he wore. Okay. Gotta let her leg... One more layer on the leg, the lower leg, and then I'll be happy with that. I think the cloth is gonna be orange, too. There's a lot on her that's gonna be orange. Oh, there's the other buckle for the other chap. So, what was that? Oh, that was an announcement for the school that I work at. They want us to wear orange for National Gun Violence Awareness Day or something. Had a very funny conversation with my coworker. He's like, "Oh yeah, Gun Violence Day," and I was like, "No, gun violence awareness. I don't think they want us to celebrate gun violence. They want us to celebrate awareness of the gun violence." Especially since, you know, we lost an individual like a week ago. So it's like, let's not make jokes about gun violence in school. It's not today. That's actually not looking bad. I think I can be happy with that because everything else I can kind of fill in. Now, this lovely lady is going to get some highlights. So let's go ahead and highlight up a little bit on her. Oh wait, no, I don't want to use this thing. Does it happen often? In our school, thankfully, no. There have been a couple of very unfortunate deaths over the last year, but I believe only one of them was related to any kinds of firearm-related stuff, and I don't even know if that's the case. All we know is that a student passed unexpectedly early morning, which is not a good sign. But, you know, the United States is huge, and unfortunately has very strong variation in gun regulation. And so, even if a place is trying to do, quote-unquote, I don't want to call it the right thing, but the gun control thing, that just means someone has to hop over to the next state over if they're really motivated, and then buy the guns there and bring them back. And then you have people who themselves are legally safely owning the guns, but have a member in the family that is unfortunately intent on ill will, and then they just, you know, take the gun because it wasn't illegal until they made it illegal. And that's getting into a whole can of worms that I really don't want to get into, so I'm going to stop there, just with the knowledge that my opinion, my own personal opinion, is that America has a gun violence problem that is a very complex issue, and that cannot be solved by a single Twitch streamer on the internet complaining about it. I might have talked about it more previously, but I don't have the spoons for it today. I'm sorry. Stop flickering. Okay. And it flickers more in response, just to be belligerent. The machine spirits are not happy here. They don't like the fact that I was talking about gun violence. I don't like the fact that this yellow is so wishy-washy. Okay, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just do some highlights up here. And actually it looks like I have a big chunk under here that is just exposed brown, so we're gonna hit all that again one more time. Try and get rid of that brown undercoating. I want to own a firearm. If I want to own a firearm, I have to store it in a security safe box. That would be nice. Admittedly, I own quite a few myself that I bought when I was around college age, and that's something I really want. I really should be saving up for, is to get myself a really nice, like, rifle case, rifle box, rifle safe that I can have down in the basement, where it is incredibly inaccessible to anyone except me, because I have no reason to keep them where I have them right now. But yeah, no, legally in the United States, in most of the United States, I don't want to say all the United States, you basically just, once you own a firearm, you own the firearm. They can't tell you what to do with it or where to put it. So, I could have it sitting on my dresser next to my bed if I really wanted to. You know, ammo in gun, slide rack, all that fun stuff. That's not how I store my firearms, but that is definitely a thing. I wanted to get a rifle for target shooting, but my girlfriend told me I can't, and that is more powerful than yeah. You know the old phrase, if they aren't happy, then you aren't happy. And that's one that I very strongly live by. Like, if my wife told me to get rid of them today, I'd be like, okay, cool, where do you, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of them now. And I would work towards either selling them or giving them to someone who could use them, that I trusted deeply. There's a whole thing about mutual respect there. Come on, get better highlights. And by get better highlights, I mean me. Benry Paints, get better highlights. What I need to do is I need to fix this flickering light, because it is driving me nuts. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it is definitely like flickering a lot, and that's messing up my vision really bad. Okay. Okie dokie, there is the highlight for that. There's a highlight there. Highlight there. And I think in this case, Yeah, golly, this yellow. The yellow and the bone color. Yeah, I think the only way in my country people can get rid of firearms is giving them to the police. That makes a lot of sense. But in the United States, we have a general distrust of our police. And, we have a lot of, like, private gun sales that can happen. That are perfectly legal, perfectly fine. Once you've sold it, it's no longer your problem. And I take exception to that, but that's a whole nother story. It's definitely a sticky situation here because of how incredibly tied up to our culture, are tied to our identity firearms are. At least how much they've become tied to our identity. So like I said, that's a very, very strange, hard to talk about subject because everyone feels so strongly about their own opinions and take it very personally if you disagree with them. I think that'll be okay. That's irresponsible? I mean, yeah. It's the price of living here. And it's like, I mean, the biggest the biggest problem can be seen is just the fact that we have we don't treat firearms the same way we treat every other tool that we use. You know what I mean? Driving a car requires more training and more actual record keeping and oversight than owning a firearm, and that seems weird to me. But that is purely my opinion. What also seems weird to me is how incredibly chalky this yellow is, but I think that's entirely my fault. That makes me sad because her face turned out so darn good. That's okay though. By the way, it's almost 6 o'clock where I am. I know for you it's almost midnight, and I'm going to probably hop off a little early because I'm pretty darn tired, and I would like to eat dinner soon. But for right now, I'm going to keep working on this lovely lady. And I'm going to keep trying to give her the highlights she needs, and hope that doing so will cover up a lot of my mistakes. If not, I'm just going to go ahead and repaint all of the legs another day. Because they definitely have that issue where you can clearly see that the bottom layer of paint is shining straight through the top layer. And that's not very good. Let's go ahead and hit this one more time, actually. Paint that inner thigh, because right now you can clearly see through it, and that's no bueno. Okay. Happy little accidents. Fair enough. I mean, I don't know how well it's showing up, but there's clearly some, like, weak spots in the painting job. And I guess, see, that's part of why I enjoyed painting Nurgle so much and Death Guard, is that every time that happened, it's like, who cares? Their armor's rotting away. Deal with it. But this one, it's a little more obvious. But the good news is I have an approach. I've painted so many Imperial Fists that through my constant failure, I have kind of learned how to fix it and make it up. So eventually, once I get there, I can definitely clean up a lot of the yellow blobs that I have that don't quite work right, and make this look really good. So that is going to be the plan moving forward. And actually, I'm just going to go paint this entire thing with a chunkier layer. Just going to go ahead and do it all again. Maybe that's what got me to be such a decent painter, is just having to have the extreme patience of trying to paint yellow properly. I mean, seems feasible. Okay. And actually, that looks a whole lot better. Okay. I'll be honest, I think that's actually going to be me calling it. There's a lot more I want to do with her, but I'll do that another day. I'm going to have plenty of free time tomorrow. We're in exam mode, so I'm only kind of teaching half the day, and even then I'm just overseeing some kids who are taking a test. But yeah, that's how she turned out, and she's already well on her way. Once again, for comparison, here is the previous model that I worked on. that I'm increasingly proud of the more I like pick her back up and observe her. So that's where I'm gonna go ahead and stop it for today. I even got the non-metallic metal looking pretty good, and I'm really digging the hair. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me, guys. I do appreciate it. I'm gonna go upstairs and bother my wife. This is I might stream on Saturday morning. I don't know. I'm not streaming tomorrow, I don't think. But I will see you guys later. Have a great rest of your evenings. I hope you all sleep well and have a good rest of your days. And later, guys. Bye-bye.